I mean, if you're gonna be here, I want to know who your kid is. Like, I wish that was on their name tag. My kid is.
Yeah. All right. So I wanted to start with your sticky note. There were tons of things that I saw to celebrate you for. Have you read it yet? Mm-hmm. Okay. How did that land with you as far as things you agreed with, things you're like,
I felt affirmed in that I am trying to implement the feedback that I've been getting. Because all of these were like things that were suggestions at some point between now and the first week of school. So that was good. And then on the back, I didn't actually read this until after second period, and that was the adjustment that I had made before seeing it. So I was like, so this was affirmational feedback.
Great. So what evidence did you have
that I needed to do that?
Yes. I want to see then if the same thought process that led us to that point was similar.
So, let's see if I can put it in words.
Even if it's not polished.
My first reaction would just be like when you get the looks and they're like, I don't know, you just feel like something needs to change, and I'm like, I am not getting across the thing I need to get across. So like, even though I got a chance to talk through it a little bit, and like I noticed even, I was like, please let me do can I go now? Can I do my t-shirt? Because I know I needed, I wanted that opportunity to talk through it, before first period, so I was grateful for that.
So what did you then, in hearing you say that, since I wasn't present, what did you talk through this morning that then you applied to the class period when I was here?
So, believe it or not, it did help me clarify some of my wording even from just that.
Great.
So, it's kind of hard translating somebody else's thinking into your authentic words, I guess. So I have a couple of battles, and that's one of them as far as like the module planning guide and me internalizing it the way that they intended, I guess. Because it's not presented as something that explains rationale so much. It's just like, here's your key points, this is your objective, and this is this. So you got to figure out like, oh, that's why they put that in that order, and that's why they didn't mention that, and they did mention that. Like, you figure it out kind of like as you go. So I don't like that aspect because I feel like I'm always like a moment behind the 8 ball or something. But
so I'm hearing you say that having to internalize. There's a gap.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say
like
I don't. Our current resources are not ideal for me.
And what would make them better? You're saying the rationale.
If it were presented in a more teacher-facing, friendly way, like, I don't know. It's kind of like a starter kit. If it was more substantial.
Okay, specifically to address. You find that you become more wordy when you feel like you have to then fill in more blanks.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for putting that into words for me. Yes.
Okay. So then this morning you felt like you started at one place and from content team time funneled it down. First period you delivered, which was more funneled, and then you funneled it down even more.
Yes.
Okay.
So by the time I got to fourth period, I knew exactly what I wanted to say and what I wanted them to get. And at that point, it was just like, because remember I said there's many battles. That was just one. Yeah. And the other battle is kids. And I saw the same thing last year. But fourth period is always tough because it's like 4 o'clock at that point. And kids are like, I'm still at school. My brain is dead. So it's like, how do you, like I try to purposefully make today more engaging because I didn't want to do as much like, just I'm talking and you're writing notes. Like I tried to sprinkle that in a more like inquiry format and taking in the feedback of like, oh, let's still just do more of the heavy lifting. Yeah. So today was really like my first time. Like I try to make this week's whole cycle have more of that since that was a feedback, and then that's also what we're now exploring in our relay content team, which is 5E model, which is inquiry first. Let's do this heavy lift, and then your intro to new material is you saying
synthesizing. Yeah. And I mean, based on what I saw, that was evident.
Was the idea.
No, that was evident. I mean, you had 2 demos. You had them talk consistently about the same question, and I have a document for everyone of observation notes where I just keep like running files, and I wrote down the question that Miles' observation notes. If my computer is going to act right.
I don't know. I'm not remember what we're calling me when I said I'm really like after that.
The question was, did what you see just represent the creation of a new substance from what I just did? And I heard that consistently throughout. And then I think as I was walking out, which was when I saw your slide come up of like, these are the definitions and here's what it is. So the feedback that I left was because by the time I had walked out, which was at least 30 minutes in, I hadn't yet heard you actually answer the question once at all. And so I'm like, they've done the turn and talk with their chart 3 different times now, whether it's yes or no, but they're either now sitting here affirming their wrong thinking without having heard Miss Miles say like what it actually is. So just like balancing them needing to get the right information with the inquiry was what led me to them like stamp it sooner. Doesn't mean they still can't do the turn and talks and justify it right or wrong. There was healthy like mini debate when David said it was yes, and I think Esteban was like no. Mia had clear, strong evidence and rationale.
So that was the first period timing struggle.
Yeah.
Because that point should have ideally come more at like 20 minutes because I was operating loosely off of the 5E model, which is like your do now is I did a traditional do now where I was like answer these questions from yesterday, but like technically your first 5 minutes is supposed to be like hit them with something hooking and engaging, and then 15 minutes of just like explore it on your own and teasing, and then that like giving them a chance, which I didn't because I just couldn't imagine like I spent this whole day saying the reason why I'm doing this is to see if you can handle it tomorrow. But so we'll see how that works out. But the plan was to have them do hands-on on me or me doing hands-on, grapple with it, and then the key points are like, all right, boom, and let's put together.
From what I saw and what I felt, like that was what you were following.
So I did feel like, as far as the rhythm of that, I got better towards
day progressed. Good.
But and one thing I wanted to mention too about like, so I get, you know how you get scared of like, oh my god, my poor first period, like they're never gonna learn anything because I'm always like trying.
I mean,
but the weird part is my data doesn't reflect that because they're like my strongest class. So I don't know, maybe it's because I'm thinking.
Make some hypotheses as to why that happens.
Because it's morning for them. I'm like,
well, it's also
thinking
not
about
your
every
first time
thing.
doing it though. Like for that class today, there's always going to be things that we can improve in, but it wasn't your first time actually talking through it, which is why like maybe there's some trend between Monday and Wednesday, between Tuesday and Thursday when like you actually get a chance to like run through it with a live other adult human being. So we'll see. But these were genuine celebrations and awesome job.
Thank you for telling that because I was totally questioning. No, I'm just kidding.
Just in case.
Thank you.
So what I'm hearing then, the trend being is you fill in the blanks where you feel as though the regional materials are not doing that, which adds, when I mean fill in the blanks, like literally and figuratively with words. And so then that at times elongates the explanation or impacts then like the clarity of stamping those key points.
Yes, because sometimes I disagree with the key points I've been given, and I don't.
Did you see how in last week sometimes I like reordered them and was like, let's break it down a little further, like,
and I liked that. Like I changed
like that
sequence,
sequence. That is totally within your right. I think, like you mentioned, using it as like a starter kit is definitely the right mentality to have. And like, if someone who had never seen science anything, like if I hired my mom to be like, come teach 6th grade science, here's somewhere to start. Like something you need to get across to children. but that doesn't mean you cannot manipulate them in a way that you think makes it more clear.
But I don't think...
Or reorder.
I don't trust myself to fill in the blanks that I'm feeling. I do not know if that is English, but...
As far as the why or you mentioned rationale.
I guess if I had to say this is my biggest disconnect or struggle, it's putting myself in the position of a 11-year-old thinker. Fine.